Let's talk about who is at fault here. Who failed baby Emmanuel? We have the district historian setting the record straight, saying, and I quote, "The judge had an outrageous error of judgment," end quote, for the 2018 that Jake was convicted of.
Haro pled straight up to the court, which sometimes reporters get this wrong, and you call it a plea bargain. Judges are not allowed to plea bargain. Defendants can plea bargain with the prosecutor, but when a defendant pleads up to the court, they plead to everything that they've been charged with, and they're essentially throwing themselves on the mercy of the court. In this case, a judge here in Riverside County, happened to have been a visiting judge from San Bernardino County, gave Mr. Haro a suspended sentence, which means, if I can translate for you what that is, it means that instead of sending him to prison, he chose to give him probation and suspend prison time sort of over his head, meaning that if he violated his probation, he would then go to prison. My prosecutor in the courtroom objected to that and said on the record, we object, we think it's a prison case, you should send him to prison. And the judge decided, as is the judge's right to do in that case, he decided that Mr. Haro deserved an extra break and gave him probation and basically 180 days of work release, which ends up being like community service. I will say that it was an outrageous error in judgment by this judge. And I don't have any problem saying that. I'm not attacking the judge personally. That decision was absolutely outrageous. Mr. Haro should have been in prison at the time that this crime happened. And if that judge had done his job as he should have done, Emmanuel would be alive today. And that's a shame, and it's an outrage. And I hate to say that, but when our criminal justice system breaks down, I'm going to just call it like it is and tell you it broke down. It's not how it's supposed to work. The judge had obviously meant well. At the end of their sentence, he told Jake, I'm giving you a big break today, don't mess it up.
Then we have Judge Moore blaming the district attorney, saying that the district attorney had 5 years to put this case together and present this case. I'm going to read to you guys some of the statements in this article done by the Press Enterprise. One of the key areas of disagreement is whether Moore, at the time of the sentencing, knew of the severity of the injuries to Carolina Haro, the 10-week-old victim in the cruelty case. The daughter of Haro and his second wife, Vanessa Haro, suffered permanent brain damage and is bedridden. Vanessa Haro also pleaded guilty to the court in that case. Former San Bernardino County Superior Court Judge John M. Pacheco, who along with 2 attorneys signed the trial advocate's news release, said in an interview that Moore was appointed to the case well after it started through the temporary assigned judges program to hold a mandatory settlement conference. Such judges, Pacheco said, received only a copy of the charges and rely on the attorneys to provide details to guide their sentencing decisions. Quote, "There was never any mention of the child's permanent injuries and the fact that the child is permanently disabled and bedridden," end quote. Pacheco said while declining to say how he knew this. The district attorney's office rejected the assertion in a written statement Thursday, September 11th, saying that Moore, quote, "accurately aware of the heinous and permanent nature of this young victim's injuries," end quote. Before indicating a sentence, Pacheco said a judge would consider the nature of the alleged crime, how old the case is, and the criminal record of the defendant, and the nature and the seriousness of the injuries. Additionally, Pacheco said the DA's office did not file a, quote, "great bodily injury," quote, enhancement that would have precluded Moore from accepting a plea to the court. At the sentencing, Deputy District Attorney Sam Taloa spoke to Moore before the judge's final ruling and appeared to reference a previous conversation about the girl's injuries. Judge Moore stated that he received numerous death threats after District Attorney Hestron's criticism during a press conference for baby Emmanuel. In 2023, Judge Dwight Moore sentenced Jake Haro of willful child cruelty, which he served 180 days work release program, 52 weeks of child batterers counseling, and 4 years of probation for his 2018 incident, including his 10-week-old baby. Hestron had stated that had Moore sentenced Haro to prison, the incident with baby Emmanuel wouldn't have occurred. A question popped into my head, like we have a child predators list, right? So do we have a child abusers list? I was thinking in California specifically, so I looked it up and I'm going to read you guys. According to Child Abuse Central Index website, the Attorney General administers the Child Abuse Central Index, which was created by the legislature in 1965 as a tool for state and local agencies to help protect the health and safety of California's children. Defined in Penal Code sections 11164 through 11174-31, these statutes are referred to as the Child Abuse and Neglect Reporting Act, or CANRA. Investigated reports of child abuse are forwarded to CACI. These reports contain information related to substantiated cases of physical abuse, sexual abuse, mental or emotional abuse, and/or severe neglect of a child. The information in the CACI is available to aid law enforcement investigations, prosecutions, and to provide notification of new child abuse investigation reports involving the same suspects and/or victims. Information is also provided to designated social welfare agencies to help screen applicants for licensing or employment in child care facilities and foster homes, and to aid background checks for other possible child placements and adoptions. Dissemination of CACI information is restricted and controlled by statute. Information on file in the Child Abuse Central Index includes name and personal descriptors of the suspects and victims listed on reports, reporting agency that investigated the incident, the name and number assigned to the case by the investigating agency, and types of abuse investigated. It is important to note that the effectiveness of the CACI is only as good as the quality of the information reported. Each agency that submits a report of some substantiated child abuse or severe neglect is responsible for the accuracy, completeness, and retention of the original reports. The CACI serves as a pointer back to the original submitting agency. I think here are the questions that we should be asking. If there's a list of abusers in California, shouldn't CPS be visiting the Haros? If CPS weren't visiting the Haros, why weren't the CPS involved? Shouldn't there be a follow-up on the Haros to see if there's any more children being harmed? Who failed baby Emmanuel? How about Emmanuel's family? Isabel and her boyfriend, which according to Sylvia, they were at the football game. I mean, it was Isabel's son they were attending the football game for, right? I mean, they must have seen the baby there that night. How about his grandmother, Mary, who allegedly only lived 30 minutes away? Why has she not checked up on Emmanuel? Or how about his Aunt Sylvia, who lived right next door to the Haros? People have said she lived in the brown home on the Haros property, and according to this website, her address is listed as the Haros home in Cabazon, same as the address listed for Jake and Rebecca. Surely she had seen baby Emmanuel at least once, right? I think Sylvia is trying to sweep things under the rug. Anyways, if you guys like this video, do the YouTube things, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything.